Okay. Awesome. So thank you everybody for attending Los Angeles City College's Women's History Month panel. And a very special thank you to our 6 amazing panelists whom I will introduce in a moment. My name is Carolyn Darren. I am a career counselor here at LA City College.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Juliana Medina, and I am the faculty coordinator with the Economic and Workforce Development and Employer Liaison with the Career Center. So we are very excited and we are welcoming you over to our LA City College.
Before we jump into the introductions, our other career counselor, David Turcotte, is also here. I know he may be helping me with the other Zoom room. I'm not sure if he's here to jump in and introduce himself really quick.
Hello, everybody. It's David. We had a little bit of a snafu with the link this morning, so I'm in 2 Zooms at once. But I just want to give kudos to all of our amazing panelists here today, and especially our Career Center counterparts and colleagues, Carolyn Darren and Juliana Medina, for putting this on. So we greatly appreciate you. I will be in and out, but I should be back in a bit to moderate the chat. Thanks again, everybody.
Okay, so one of our panelists hasn't been able to join yet, so I'm going to hold off on her introduction. I'm going to begin by introducing and welcoming Yvette Rivera, a special agent with the FBI. She became a special agent in 2003 and has investigated white-collar and violent crime. Prior to joining the FBI, Special Agent Rivera was employed in public service roles within the social service and public health industry. Welcome, Yvette.
Yay. Welcome, Yvette. And next, please welcome Naomi Rodriguez as Vice President of External Affairs and Community Relations with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Ms. Rodriguez leads the team with civic community and efforts with the emphasis of organization relationships with local leaders, government, and nonprofit organizations. Since joining the organization in 2014, Ms. Rodriguez has served on the executive leadership team and is one of the highest ranking Latinas in the organization. Welcome, Naomi.
Next, we have an LACC alumna on the panel. Desiree V. Castro is a policy analyst and head of the new entertainment division at Margolin PLC. After receiving her associate's degree in film at LA City College, she achieved her bachelor's degree in film production from CSUN. Previous to her formal education, her 20-year career as a performer, choreographer, director, and producer led to appearances off-Broadway, world-class festivals such as Lollapalooza and Burning Man, and content that has garnered over 100 million online views, featuring artists such as Tiffany Haddish, Angela Johnson, and Jason Mraz.
Welcome. Now I'd like to introduce Marjorie Briscoe. Marjorie has held many positions throughout her career, from teacher, academic counselor, director of workforce development, and most recently, a human resource specialist. She is currently the community engagement specialist for SoFi Stadium, which is the iconic home of the Super Bowl champions of the Los Angeles Rams and the LA Chargers. Welcome, Marjorie.
And finally, but definitely not least for now, we have Dr. Melissa Turcotte. She began her education at a community college, Long Beach City College, and now has a doctorate degree in organic chemistry from the University of Pennsylvania. After graduate school, Dr. Turcotte worked in a research chemistry lab and for an international chemistry company before joining the Los Angeles County Public Works as an environmental engineering specialist. She currently heads the environmental planning section for stormwater quality, where her team provides scientific support for studies in and around LA County. Welcome, Dr. Turcotte.
Welcome.
Okay,
and
so
finally, it is our honor to introduce the LA City College President, Dr. Mary Gallagher. She has also served as a Vice President of Administrative Services at Los Angeles Southwest College and Los Angeles Trade Tech College before beginning her top leadership position at LA City College. Welcome, everyone.
Okay, so welcome everybody. So our first question will allow us all to get to know you a bit more. Although we did just briefly introduce each panelist, can you please share your career journey thus far, including the schools you attended and what you studied? Let's see. Marjorie, would you mind going first for this question?
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you again for allowing me to join you today. I feel a little, I'm becoming a fangirl of all of the other women on the panel. I'm new to this career and kind of new to this kind of attention. So thank you. As they mentioned before, I started my career as a teacher. I went to a small HBCU, a historically Black college down in the South in Tennessee, in Memphis, Tennessee. The college was Lemoyne-Owen College, a liberal arts college. Historically, it had been known as a teacher's college. In 1968, it merged with a business college, Owen College, and became Lemoyne-Owen College. So, of course, during the Civil Rights Movement and before, a lot of the teachers in the South came from schools like that. I had a very positive experience there. And believe it or not, I came out of a historically Black college into a predominantly white school system, which was outside of the city of Memphis, quite by choice, in order to just take everything that I had learned into a new environment and apply it there. I had a really good experience and I learned a lot. And, you know, it was challenging going into an environment where I was like one of 3 Black teachers in a school with 2,000 students and like 50 teachers. And I was very young. I was 22 years old at the time. But believe it or not, after my very first year of teaching, I quit. The teaching itself was so overwhelming that I went on a summer field trip with my students on college visits. Pardon?
Oh, it was somebody, I muted them.
I went on a summer college trip with my students and met someone at Texas Southern University while we were touring college, trying to get my high school students into college. And I got a job offer on a field trip and I accepted it.
Go ahead and click on that and now we'll take you.
So I ended up being an academic counselor at a college for 3 years, which I absolutely loved. I still very much loved working with the students, but the classroom, there's just nothing to prepare you for that. But after 3 years of working at the university, I got married and moved back to Memphis and returned to teaching, which I loved and I really grew to love, and I really became much stronger in my skill set and was able to do really well. I did have a son and I could not bear to be away from my child. It was quite a commute. So I took a job at the Memphis Urban League training adults. I was still teaching English, business English, job readiness, that sort of thing. Then I wrote some curriculum for adult workforce development and training as well. With my son being born in 1995, I ended up working at the Urban League until my son went to school. So then I returned to teaching so that we could all be on the same schedule together. As many moms do, we know that sometimes we have to coordinate family life with our children. And I taught until I moved here to Los Angeles. And I taught a little bit more, but I had a bit of a battle that I'll talk about later. And ended up going back to school, finally in my 50s at Loyola Marymount University. And I decided to go into human resources management. So I completed that program. And actually, while I was still in school, I applied for many positions. And one of them was SoFi Stadium, human resources. And I interviewed about 3 or 4 times for this position and I finally got it. And the super neat thing about it is that I live across the street from SoFi Stadium. So I live in the condos across the street and lots of days I get to walk to work. So no matter how expensive the gas prices are, it doesn't matter to me because I can walk to work.
There you go. Thank you, Marjorie, for sharing that. President Gallagher, would you like to take the question?
Sure, thank you. It's great to be here this afternoon with all of you. Great to hear everyone's journey. So my journey started very different from where it ended. I went to Cal Poly Pomona right out of high school and earned my Bachelor of Science degree in Business Administration. And I was going to be in the world of business and knock them out and make a whole lot of money and call it a day. And that's not exactly what life had planned for me. I relocated from Southern California to Northern California, and I entered the field of education at that time. And I fell in love with education. I was on the administrative side of education. I wasn't teaching at the time, but I just loved it. I loved working with students and helping people figure out a direction and what to do. I was in the workforce side of things at a career college, and it was a great place to be. I subsequently ended up about 10 years later relocating down to Southern California, and major life change happened, and we'll talk about that later as well. But after my major life change happened, I decided that I needed to go back to school and get my master's degree because I was adjuncting at a couple of community colleges. So I was a freeway flyer going all over the place teaching, and I was teaching court reporting students. So I've been teaching court reporting for over 30 years. Actually, I still do a little teaching still. And so as a result of doing that, I went back and got my master's degree. And that part of the journey is a little interesting because when I was looking at master's programs, I wasn't looking at business because I studied business as an undergrad. So I thought I should do something different. I should learn something different, study something different. And I kept going back when I was looking at all kinds of programs, going back to business. So I finally decided to get my MBA. So I went to Pepperdine to get my MBA. And I actually had an emphasis in international business and studied, did a very intensive study at Oxford and also at the University of Antwerp in Belgium. And I was actually in Belgium when the euro came in. So they were changing all of the currency right at the time I was there. It was a very interesting time to be in Europe. And I did my paper after that trip on the transportation system in Europe. It was quite interesting and quite challenging for business. And some other time I'll do a little stint on that for everybody. But suffice to say, I, at that time then, ended up going to work full-time for the Los Angeles Community College District at LA Southwest College. I was there for 6.5 years. I did go back and earn my PhD. I decided if I'm going to stay in education and be an administrator in education, I needed to understand education. And I'd never studied a social science, so it was very different for me, but it was a really good experience. And I earned my doctorate at Claremont. My dissertation was on the relationship between strategic planning and assessing student learning outcomes in California community colleges. So I'll stop there, but that has been my journey. I have been with the Los Angeles Community College District for 20 years. 15 of those years were spent as a Vice President of Administrative Services. And the last 4 years, I have been able to be the very proud president of Los Angeles City College. Thank you.
Thank you, President Gallagher. Naomi, would you like to go next?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Great, great. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. My name's Naomi Rodriguez, and it's very interesting when people ask me, how do you get into sports? It was never, ever my end goal to work for a large sports franchise. Although I grew up in Los Angeles, my parents are from East Los Angeles, and I've always loved the Dodgers. But that's not where I thought my career would end up. I studied communications and political science and public administration, and I was very involved in my community. I think my mother was mobilizing before mobilizing was a thing. I mean, she was taking her neighbors and others and new immigrants that have become citizens to vote. And it was something that I just grew up with. My parents were foster parents. I have, close to, they fostered probably close to 100 children. And probably about, 20 really close foster brothers, 2 foster sisters, and then my 2 brothers from both of my parents. And so I think giving back has always been part of who I am, who my family is, community service, and also connected very much to our faith and helping others. So when I graduated from college, I immediately started to work on campaigns and walk precincts, and I was very interested in what was happening in our communities, especially in the underserved communities. I wanted to work at City Hall, and the only job I could get at the time, I had been working on campaigns, was to be an assistant, and so I took it. At that time, things were different. You know, assistants did a lot of things. I was an assistant just for a few months, and then I quickly moved on, and I worked for a state assembly person. I ended up working for the ambassador to Israel and working for the mayor of Los Angeles. And after my time in civic government, I knew that I wanted to expand how I could affect change. And it doesn't always happen through elected officials or public policy. It happens, and I knew that it happens just from my experience in many ways and avenues. So I decided I wanted some time in the private sector. So I spent about close to 10 years at DirecTV in several different departments: marketing, communications, direct sales. I mean, I really did everything. And I loved my time there. I like to say when I was at DirecTV, I was a little intimidated because I didn't have an MBA. I didn't have a business degree, but I quickly understood that I could do it. I mean, it wasn't rocket science. It was something that I was smart and ambitious. And so I got very involved in the business side and sort of the bottom line and how big corporations, again, affect our community and how everything sort of connects. And then I had some time working for a nonprofit organization, also overseeing their communications, public administration, and marketing. And then the Dodgers came to me, and I wasn't looking for anything. And they said, you know, we're looking for somebody that has community experience, but we also want somebody that knows the bottom line because we are a business. And very honestly, it's where opportunity met preparation. I had those 3 I had the public sector, the private sector, and the nonprofit experience. And that's really, I think, what got me the job, and my hard work, obviously, and determination, but it was all those things. And if I could just give a little bit of advice in this is looking at the big picture, not just looking through the sort of a narrow, like just in your space. How do you affect other parts of the business? And so that was just something that I, through my experience, understood, you know, that company needs to make money to stay profitable, and all of those things. We need to give back to our community. And how do all of those things sort of melt and mesh together? And how do we help each other to sustain each other? And so sort of that's where I'm at. I'm going into my 8th season. We won a World Series. Yes. So that's amazing. It just probably one of the best experiences of my life, of my career. It's, well, actually 2. Losing the World Series to the Houston Astros. We remember them. They cheated. Losing because we were supposed to win that team. We were that year. We were the best team by far, hands down. At the time, we did not know they cheated. But I remember, and I'll just say this, I remember the day after we lost. And I did not know where to put my feelings. It was something very different. Nobody died, but it sure felt like somebody died. And so that was just a new experience for me, and internalizing that and like, okay, what's this mean? You know, and everybody in LA the next day was just horrified and sad. And so we got through that. And then the second part of my career now that has been a memory I'll never forget is obviously winning the World Series during a pandemic. So that's me, and I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. Welcome. Carolyn, you want to?
Sure. Let's see. I'm going to go next to our alumna. I'm going to ask Desiree, would you mind to briefly just fill out your biography a little bit?
Yes. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here today. When Carolyn reached out to me, I literally cried because I felt like it came to a full circle after going to LACC as a non-traditional student. I went to LACC 10 years ago. So that's when I started my academic career. I was already 38 at the time, and I felt that there's no time to lose. I can always reinvent myself. And as a performer, my body was starting to break down. I couldn't perform as well or as much as I could anymore. And so I decided to go into film, and I wanted to capture the art that I did on the stage, now bringing it to the screen. And it was one of the best experiences because I always thought of myself as just an artist. But at LACC, I quickly learned that I was very good at math. I became a tutor at the LACC math department. I did that for the 2 years that I was there. It was extremely fun. I enjoyed doing that very much and teaching other co-students with me. I also performed at the school many times, which was really amazing. So after I graduated from LACC in film studies, I then went to CSUN to go on into cinema and film and television. There, I worked as a student as well in the department, but I also worked in the office. And the chair of the department told me, because I'm so organized and I see things in a big picture as well as detail, that she thought that I would be a great agent. So I quickly applied as an intern at CAA, and I was one of many who applied, and 10 of us were chosen for the next semester. That was one of the most difficult experiences I had as an intern, but it really taught me how to live my life in a way in which I needed to be as determined and work hard and be forthright, which was really great for that experience. Once I left CAA, I then worked at a boutique agency, and there I quickly became an agent. I went in as an assistant, but within 2 months, they brought me to an agent position. There I worked for about 2 years, also during the pandemic. And during that time, because I was dealing with contracts, I wanted to go to law school to learn about entertainment law and industry. So there I applied to USC, and I got into the program. I received my certificate in entertainment law. And then because the pandemic was still happening and we were all in a lockdown and there was no work for me to be had at that time, I decided to finish out my master's degree in law. So there I did that, and I actually graduated last year in August. And thank you. And then I went into quickly. I was hired as a policy analyst at a law firm. And the lucky thing that I get to experience is that in this law firm, we are dealing with criminal defense, but at the same time, the founder of the firm would like to open a entertainment division. So I am lucky enough that I get to head that division now. So from my career, my beginning of my academic career 10 years ago, as a film student, not really knowing what to do, and just as an ex-dancer and performer and choreographer, and moving now into law, which has been a very long and crazy trajectory, but and very different from where I expected to be in my life. And it's just all about reinvention, and I have LACC to thank for that.
Wow. I know we're not done with everybody's biographies yet, but I'm just amazed and inspired by all of you. And just one thing that I'm really picking up on again and again is, like, you start with one thing, you major in one thing, and then it leads to something else and something else. And you just kind of have to keep having faith and working hard, and you just don't know where you're going to end up. So I'm really picking up on this theme. So thank you. Next, Dr. Turcotte, would you mind sharing your journey with us?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me here today. It's been a great honor hearing everybody's stories and the ways that people are getting to their career futures. My name is Melissa. I am a first generation college graduate. My father's from El Salvador. I put myself through school. I started at the community college. I was at Long Beach City College. I was able to transfer to Cal State School, where I got really interested in research chemistry. And that relationship that I had with my lab mates and my laboratory professor inspired me to go to graduate school. And little did I know at the time, they pay you a stipend to go to graduate school for chemistry. So this sounded like the best deal in the world. I get to go to school and they pay me for it, and I get to do research. This is amazing. So I did a PhD in organic chemistry. I started at the UC School of Santa Barbara, and my professor, while I was there, was able to get his tenure track position at the University of Pennsylvania. So he gave us a choice. He said, do you want to graduate with your master's from Santa Barbara? Would you like to get your PhD from University of Pennsylvania? Ivy League school PhD sounds like a go for me. So I ended up moving to Philadelphia, finished up my graduate degree on the East Coast. It was a great experience. I've experienced all the levels of college, and I can tell you that the community college is where you have the most dedicated teachers and the smallest classroom size. You want to get ahead, you want to learn about your career, you want to learn about, where things take you. The community college is the place to be. I've taught at multiple schools. I've taught at the state level in New Jersey, and I've taught again at Long Beach City College. I came back and was able to teach for them too. And it's just great. The interaction that you have as a professor with your students, it's like nothing else when you're at the community college level. So I really recommend it. After I got my graduate degree, I went on to do some research science for the biofuel industry. And then I worked for a Japanese chemical company on their, like the technical specialist for all of their different instruments that they built. And now I have returned back to California, and I am with the LA County Department of Public Works. And I head a team of scientists, and we work on stormwater quality monitoring and scientific studies for LA County. And it's been a great experience, just being able to support the county with all of their science needs. It's been great.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And I'm glad to hear the plug for the community colleges. I totally agree. And I always tell students that as well. You actually get to know your professors, and they really do care about teaching you here. So thank you for sharing that. And certainly, not least, but last in this case, may I ask Yvette, would you mind please sharing your career journey with us?
Absolutely, Carolyn. Hi, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity to join you today. My name is Yvette Rivera, and I've had the opportunity to serve as a special agent for the last 18 and a half years. But if you would have asked me in college what my plan was, I would have told you that I studied biology because I really wanted to be a doctor. That was the goal. And like most of you probably have experienced as students, is you get these opportunities to do internships or volunteer work or talk to teachers, and it opens up other doors for you as far as options. And for me, when I graduated from undergrad, I wasn't sure that I would be successful in medical school right away. And I really wanted to succeed. And so I started to look at opportunities. What else could I do to gain that confidence before going to med school? And I looked into programs like AmeriCorps and a Peace Corps, and was able to get into a small volunteer program that was a one-year program where I worked in a shelter. And then shortly thereafter, still with the plan to go to med school, I decided to go to get my master's. And that's where the career change came. At the time, I had 3 jobs, and they mostly focused on public health and kind of like social service issues. And so During that time, I became very interested in policy, and I decided I want to be a lawyer. And so I already had accumulated a lot of student debt. And so I deferred law school for a year. And it was actually during that time that I started doing some research online, and I came across the FBI website. And what resonated with me about the position was that up to that point, I really had been very fortunate that pretty much everything that I had ever done had allowed me to be in a position to be helpful. And that's all I really want. I want an opportunity to be helpful in some way. And then the other part of the job that interested me was the investigative part, the opportunity to be able to investigate different violations and see the whole case through prosecution or restitution or whatever that might be, depending on the case. And so I was fortunate to get accepted into the FBI Academy. And I did not pursue law school, so I can add that amazing degree to my list of things. And then, you know, and the rest is history. And it sort of seems like I'm all over the place. Like, you know, first I wanted to do this, and then I tried this. And the truth is that, you know, a lot of the times we have a plan and we pursue that plan for, you know, and then it changes based on the experiences we have. And so at the end of the day, this being in the FBI wasn't the initial goal. But once I started working in this job, I realized this is where I belong, and it became my career.
Great. Thank you so much, Yvette, for sharing that. And again, it's another one, you know, I would never imagine that biology would be the first major that comes to mind when people think about becoming a special agent. So it just goes to show, you know, you never really do know where that path is going to lead. So the next question we have is, what barriers or challenges in your career have you experienced, and how did you overcome them? So this one, why don't I throw this one to Desiree first?
I would say for me, it was going into a late career later in my life. Finding that sometimes it's difficult to even get an interview because I have too much experience in something, or my experience varies so much. So what I learned to do was really just stick to my guns and be myself and truthful, and curate my resumes, my interviews towards whichever job that I was applying for, and really asking the questions that would be open-ended to create a conversation that would allow me to be able to connect with the person who I'm speaking with. And I think that has really helped me overcome the challenge. And then they realize it's not my age that's the barrier, that I'm actually an asset for them.
Great, thank you. President Gallagher.
Well, I am toward the end of my career, so I have been working professionally for a very long time. I earned my first degree in 1981, and I studied business, as I indicated to you. And back in the day, there were very, very few women in business. And my classes at Cal Poly would have a handful of women and the rest were men. The very first job I went to work right out of right out of college, was a predominantly male place. And you couldn't get away with this these days, but let me tell you what my first experience was. I walked in, I'm short, I'm about 5 feet tall, and I'm not thin by any stretch of the imagination. But my very first day, I went to work for a large company that delivered snack foods. And I was told by my manager that very first day that I would never make it in the job because I was short and fat and a woman. Now, you can't get away with that these days, but let me tell you what that did to me. I said, you are going to regret ever saying that to me, because I'm going to be the best route salesperson you ever had, and you're going to be sorry the day that I move on to my next job. So I worked at that job for 2 years. I was a top route driver salesperson. I sold the heck out of those potato chips. I had the best route of anybody in the entire area because I did things the way you were supposed to do it. And I was able to be successful because I did that. And it was a good experience for me, not from the standpoint that it was a good experience for me, but to not let anybody stop you. Don't let anybody define who you are. You are who you know you are, and nobody can tell you that however you look defines anything about you at all.
Thank you so much, President Gallagher. Margie, would you like to take the question? Oh, you're on mute.
I was saying I got so engrossed in listening to their stories. It's so inspiring and encouraging. I think that some of my barriers, first and foremost, I was first generation college student, just like someone else mentioned on the call. Going into an educational environment, not really having a background in kind of what to expect, and being given direction before you get there can sometimes be a barrier. But of course, the drive that I had for myself helped to push me through. And even though my parents didn't go to college, they were loving parents and supporting parents and gave me what they had. And that really did support me through that process. Also, I feel like not advancing my education earlier in my career created some career barriers. I wasn't able to move up in the industry where I was working at a younger age because I guess, like so many women maybe can relate to establishing family early and motherhood and balancing all of that. I just felt like I wanted to do things well, so let me just hold what I've got. But in retrospect, I do think that I probably could have gone to school earlier and done more. But I still went, you know, it's never too late. So even once my son was a grown up and I was 50, I did go back to school. So those barriers don't have to remain barriers. So those things, for the most part, I can see were barriers, but they're in the rearview mirror.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Yvette, would you like to take the question?
Absolutely, Juliana. I would say probably the biggest hurdle is trying to be the parent that I want to be. I have two little munchkins. One's just turned 9 and the other one's 11. And there's a lot of things I miss, and unfortunately sometimes guilt of having to miss those things. But then I kind of remind myself of, you know, I grew up with a very hardworking mom, and she is literally the epitome of work ethic, and I turned out okay. And I'm very thankful that I have the opportunity to work and to be in a place where I could get up every day and feel like I get to contribute and help. And I don't want to give that up, right? So I try to focus on, you know, when I have the opportunity, I can schedule time off. I try to do the best that I can. And then, you know, the times that I have to miss and, you know, be away, then I just use FaceTime and say good morning and say good night. And, you know, I'll be there when I can and try to, you know, both of the kids are very different. Like Sara has to know in advance. So if I know I'm not going to be there, I'll let her know, hey, on these days and these days. And then my other little munchkin, Lucas, he'll be fine. But so I try to be cognizant of their personalities and let them know as much in advance what the future holds, so that they know, hey, you already know I'm not going to be here on this day. So I think that's the hardest part, doing the job well and letting the workplace know that they can rely on me, but at the same time, not missing out on the kids' life adventures, because certainly they're growing up fast, and soon they won't be there anymore, right? They'll be off on their own adventures. So
yes, and that's one of the things that we juggle as women in various careers, is being 100% at the workplace and a 100% parent, managing our household, managing children, and daycare. So yeah, thank you for sharing that, Yvette. Dr. Turcotte, would you like to go next? And then we'll go with Naomi right after.
Sure. I just want to echo what Marjorie was saying. It is a barrier not knowing how to get through college. It's an unknown barrier because you don't know what to expect because you don't have that parental guidance that maybe some other kids do to help get them through college. But my internal curiosity was able to help fuel me through those barriers. I was able to talk to people. My professors were great at telling me. I had an inspirational community college chemistry professor that told me, hey, you should go apply for this grant. This would be perfect for you. And that's what helped fuel me to go into the sciences at the Cal State level. And I was at the Cal State level and I found a research professor that let me play with chemicals in the lab and learn how to become a research scientist. And he was the one that told me, hey, there's a great PhD program. If you apply for it, they pay you. So that curiosity helps me, especially fuel me through my career. Now I'm at LA County Public Works, and my supervisor told me, I understand that if you don't know, that you'll just come ask me. And I like that about you because that lets me know that I can give you things. And if you don't know, you'll come back and say, I don't understand how to do this, walk me through the steps to get me through. I find any barrier or challenge similar to like a scientific or a math problem. It's something that you just need to kind of figure out how to put together and piece it out so that you can get to the next step. With LA County, I was one of the primary authors for the Safe Clean Water program that was passed by the voters in 2018. And this program was developed by NGOs, agencies, and all of these different community stakeholders. And we had a great process. We had a stakeholder advisory committee where we were able to gather all of the thoughts from our stakeholders and then incorporate them into this program. And it was like a very big jigsaw puzzle that we were able to put together. And in the end, we came out with a program that raises money to collect stormwater and put it into the ground. And it's been ongoing for the past 3 years. It's impressive to watch, and just being able to take those puzzles and parse them out into little pieces. And so they're bite size, and then, be able to push them out and always stay curious, always ask questions, and it'll help fuel you through like the next step.
Julie, I'm next.
Oh, go ahead. Yes.
Yes. So I would say I am in two things that I want to share. One is I am in a male-dominated industry, and lots of times I'm the only woman in the room. It's getting better, and I often get asked, like, what does that feel like? To be an executive in a male-dominated industry. And my response is that I don't really think about it. What I think about is being my best. So when I walk into a room, when I'm in a meeting, when I'm doing a presentation, I bring value. There's a reason I have a seat at the table, and I take it proudly. And I may wear red lipstick and have hair, whatever it is, and I'm a Latina, and all those great things that I love about being a woman. That's who I am. But I was hired by, one of the biggest franchises in the world because I offer something to this organization, and I just remind myself of that. And I think if I am the only woman in the room, great, that's great. And I also think about, and since I'm going into my 8th season, when I first started, there were, of the vice presidents that run the organization, there were 2 female vice presidents. That was about 8 years ago. Since then, we now have 3 additional female vice presidents. So I think there's been progress there. The other thing I want to share is we're talking about motherhood, and I am a single mother. I have a 5-year-old, a 16-year-old, and a 14-year-old. And my family does keep me very busy. My work keeps me very busy. I also like some of my colleagues here have mentioned, there are times where I feel, like I want to be there. I can't always be there. The challenges with that. But again, and the other thing I'll say, going back to my first comment, is that because there are men on this Zoom also, but because God gave us the ability to bear children, we're not aliens, right? We're not like, we're people, we're smart women. We bring a lot to the table, but we are not aliens. We are not, we're just as smart as our male counterparts, if not even smarter. And there are a lot of people that recognize that. So I just want to say that to the younger people. It's like, if you have to breastfeed, if you have to take time off, it is, God gave us this ability to have children. We are the future of the world. I mean, we could all get together and say, we're not having any more children and stop the population from growing. We collectively could decide that. If that's not power and influence, then I don't know what is. So I just want to make sure, because after I had my son, I was pregnant at the Dodger. I was here working only, a year or so when I got pregnant. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, like, how am I going to be pregnant on the field, talking to the players? Like, I just sort of kind of had a little bit of a panic attack. And I told myself exactly what I told everyone here. And what a beautiful thing, right, to be pregnant and to bring life into the world. So, I think one of the hardest things I am dealing with now is having teenage girls, because that is a whole different thing. I mean, sometimes I think, somebody has taken over their bodies or something. So if you want to know right now in my life, what my biggest challenges are, just making sure I'm bringing up these young women as strong women, independent women, but also very conscientious and care about the things around them. They don't care just about what's on TikTok or whatever else, that they're looking around themselves and saying, this is the world. What kind of world do I want to live in? How do I give back to the person next to me, right? Like, how do I take care of my neighbor, my brother, my sister? Like, it's not just about looking at myself. It's about, how we touch other lives. And I think that part of that has been lost. And social media does not help with all these comparisons. So I want to say that is my biggest challenge. I take advice from anyone and everyone, but I daily pray and just do my very, very best.
Thank you so much, Naomi. And I'm sure we all can relate. And there's a lot of comments that agree with you as well. Carolyn?
Yeah, so thank you all so much. So what we're going to do now is kind of jump to the overall question. What advice do you have for students, but especially women, who wish to succeed in your field? This one, I'm actually going to hop to Melissa first.
Find that unmute button. This one, I think that we need to advocate for ourselves. That's my main take home. We are here and we need to be able to go out as women and say, listen, I don't understand this. I need to understand this better. Or, let me know how to do this, or let me know how to do it better. For students, I would say, talk to your counselors. You have a wonderful counseling team at LACC. It's amazing. Full disclaimer, my husband is a career counselor for LACC, but we've both been working from home for the last year. And I hear him talking to the students, and it's amazing what services are offered to students nowadays. When I went to community college, I got here's the list of classes that you need to take and good luck. I think there's a lot of support that you have at LACC in order to find out where your niche is and how your career goes. And my other piece of advice is to introduce yourself to your professor and make use of their office hours. Those office hours are there for you as a student. And if you're not coming to the office hours, they're sitting there by themselves, just grading papers or doing their own work. That's your time to advocate for yourself and to make your name known and to tell them that you're struggling with, who knows, stereochemistry in your chemistry class, or this different algebraic equation in your math class. When they understand that you're struggling and they understand that you're trying, when they go to mark off those questions on the exam and there's partial credit, they'll give you more partial credit because they know that you've done it in their office hours and you've taken the time to try to get on board with how the class is supposed to go. So those are my two advice for students.
Great advice. I always tell students with office hours, I think sometimes students think it will make them stand out in a bad way, like it will like expose what they don't know, but it's actually the opposite. It makes you stand out in a great way because it shows that you cared enough to learn this, to come and actually seek out the professor in their office. So that is spectacular advice. Thank you for that. Dr. Gallagher, what do you have? What advice do you have for women who are interested to getting into administration or leadership?
So I have two things I'd like to share with students right now. And even those of you on this call who are not as close to retirement as I am, who look at working another 10, 20, 30 years. I mean, people are going to live a long time. I saw a billboard when I was driving the other day that said, the first person to live to be 150 has already been born. So think about that. That's a lot of years. That's a lot of time. So you don't have to be in a hurry. You heard several people on this call say they went back to school later, as did I for my master's degree. I was 50 when I finished my doctorate. It is never too late. If you are in school now and you have to leave to work, that happened to probably everybody on this call. It happened to me too. I'm one of the oldest of 12 kids. My parents couldn't help me with college. They were still raising kids. So my advice to you is keep looking for what your passion is, because what you go to school for isn't necessarily what you will do for the rest of your life. And give yourself an opportunity to reinvent yourself. I love Desiree's story. I love it. I mean, imagine going to work for the Dodgers like Naomi. And Marjorie doing what she did, always wondering what was it that was out there for her. And I can only tell you, Melissa, what a rock star you are, PhD in chemistry. And yeah, your husband's a rock star for us here, as are all of our other counselors. But let me just tell you that it's what is your passion that will make you the best at it. I am passionate about students. It's the best thing I do every day is to get to wake up and come to work at LA City College. And when you feel that way, all you can ever do is whatever excellent work you can do that day. So my advice is keep moving toward what makes you feel really, really good about what you're doing. Find your passion and you will be wildly successful beyond all imagination, because it isn't anything about money.
Wonderful, wonderful, beautiful, exhilarating advice. Thank you so much. Yvette, what advice do you have for women looking to get into the FBI or law enforcement?
Yeah, I would say as a student, I think what I found most valuable was work experience. I worked in fast food, which I think really was really helpful because it is hard work and you learn a lot in a fast-paced environment, but also volunteer work. I think as students, any opportunity you have to get involved, whether it be in campus organizations, whether it be athletics, musicians, whatever other skill set you're interested in, get out there, because those are opportunities to develop all sorts of skill sets, like being a team player and communication skills, and just putting yourself in a situation where other students are sharing ideas. And in the workplace, I think really, I don't think that there's ever going to be a time where I don't have something to learn. I'm never going to know everything. Even the experts that testify in court are continuously putting themselves in situations to learn. And the truth is, being able to say, I do not know, tell me, is really what's been very helpful. continuously trying to learn new things and develop who you are as a professional, as a person, is something that I would really encourage you to think about, no matter what profession you're in. Any of the skill sets that you have now, we want in the FBI, whether it's in law enforcement or it's just it's as an analyst or a computer scientist. You know, we're looking for individuals who want to do the job. So initiative, and there's plenty of opportunities for you to work on that, right? Volunteer work is a great example of initiative. We're a team-oriented environment. So there's plenty of things you've already done to hone that skill set. So I would say seek out opportunities to challenge yourself as a student, and in the workplace, just continuously try to learn and ask questions and be okay with saying, I do not know.
Thank you. Yeah, that mirrors what Melissa was saying earlier. And I actually really loved something you said really early in your response about working in fast food, because so often I work with students who they've worked in retail jobs or maybe something like fast food, and now they want to go into a more professional career, what we would call professional, you know, something you might need a college degree for. And they feel like that they'll undervalue their experiences. And I'm always trying to talk about the transferability of their skills, you know, like the things that they learned in that fast food environment that could be great assets to whatever place they're going to next. So I'm really, really glad that you brought that up. Let's see, Desiree, how about you? What advice would you have to students trying to get into policy analysts, or you've had a lot of different hats. So
I've had a lot of different careers, actually.
Yeah.
I was a dancer. I went into becoming a producer. I was a segment producer on a reality TV show last year as well. So a lot of different things. So what I'd like to say is yes, and that's an old theatrical adage of like, you have a challenge and you say, yes, I have this challenge, and what can I do about it? How can I solve that problem? What can I do? How can I help you? Yes, yes, and. So I promised myself when I went to LACC that no matter what door opened or what door was presented to me, I'd walk right through it. And it was the best decision to do that because, again, the career shifts, people change, you move with your career, and it's led me to law. It has led me to entertainment. I still try to find the creativity in everything that I do, but it's that yes and.
Great, thank you. That's great advice as well. Who have we not? Marjorie.
Yeah. Going back to the question that said, what has helped you most in your career? I hope this will help the students who are listening. One of the things that has helped me most is being flexible. Because working in education, you all have been following, you know, the trends in education over the last 20 years. I've been in schools where I had a different principal every year and different grades and teaching different subjects, and not saying, well, I'm not going to teach this, I don't like it, or I don't like this person or whatever. Learning to be flexible in some of those difficult situations, I have learned some things that I didn't expect to learn, or some opportunities came out of those situations that might have been uncomfortable. So I really encourage young people to explore the people, places, and things that are outside of what's familiar, because it is a little bit uncomfortable sometimes to be the only one or doing something that you've never done before. But in the long run, you usually end up learning something that makes you so much more well-rounded. And sometimes even if you don't use that skill or that knowledge immediately, it just rounds you out and it makes you feel smart and good just to know certain things and to know certain people. You might feel like, oh, those people are older or they're a different culture and I don't know anything about that. Sometimes that's going to be where your help and allyship may come from. So it's good to invest in learning how to network when you're young. Oftentimes people can bring you into rooms and spaces that you don't have the entree to be able to go into. But if someone introduces you into a crowd or an industry or a career, that's your pathway. So you have to show yourself to be open. You have to show yourself to be teachable and to at least be willing to try. So that's some general advice that I have for students. I have some advice for women too. I just cannot walk away from this opportunity without saying this. It was a part of my bio, but I guess it's my information to share. I am a breast cancer survivor, and this just happened to me within the last 4 years. And I went through a year of very difficult treatment. It was a journey getting back into the workforce and getting back to work. But I came back with just a whole new perspective on life and living and gratitude that really has enabled me to just fully enjoy life so much more than I ever did. I take each day and just embrace all of the gratitude and embrace all of the opportunities that are here for me. So I do encourage everyone, please take care of yourself. Don't put yourself on the back burner. Don't put your health on the back burner. Pay close attention to your body and how you're feeling. And at any moment that you feel like you need to take care of yourself, don't wait one moment to do that, because time is of the essence when you're dealing with something very serious. So ladies, especially, take care of yourselves.
Great reminder. Thank you for sharing that. And then I don't think, Naomi, that you did answer this question. What you said at the end of your last response really tied into it beautifully. But advice you have for students, especially women who wish to enter into your field?
And I think the first thing I would say is own your craft. Wherever that may be at that moment, make yourself so valuable that even if they wanted to get rid of you, they couldn't. Because, and it's not as hard as you think it is, right? You can do that. And I would say the most impressive thing that I see in other people is when I think, wow, that person is so sharp. They really know what they're talking about. And then they become a resource, right? So you become a resource for others. And I just think that part is so valuable, whether you're at McDonald's or the White House. You know, if you're the only one that knows how to flip those burgers at McDonald's, guess what? You're going to be working all the time. You're going to be, I mean, you are valuable. So just remember that. And then I will tell you, I'm almost 50, and there are moments where I still get nervous. I love public speaking. I do it a lot of interviews, but when I have that moment of maybe the jitters or whatever it may be, or I'm nervous to share something, and I know we all feel that way, try to use that energy to catapult you up. And what I do is, and whether it's an interview or you're trying to get a job or get into graduate school or whatever it is, I think about the people that came before me and the generations that are counting on me, not in a way that puts on the pressure, but in a way that's positive, right? My grandparents were immigrants to this country. Did they ever think that I would be, sitting with Clayton Kershaw, And so I think about that, and that actually energizes me. I'm like, God, you put me here for a reason. Why am I nervous? I may make mistakes, but I'm here for a reason. And I just want to remind you how valuable you are as a human being on this earth. And you are absolutely capable, 100% capable. Like, you'll have the moments where you think, nope, you walk out of that. You may take a different direction to get there, but you're capable.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I have some questions for the panelists, and we're going to go ahead and get started with the first question. And it really ties into exactly to what Naomi just said. How did you develop believing in yourself? Is it something you've always had, or how to be persistent in believing in yourself?
Who is that? Is that for me?
Oh,
Or
you
for
want to take
everybody?
that one, Naomi, and then we'll go with
Oh,
President
oh,
Gallagher after?
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure. Sorry. I just thank God I had a mother. She was also a single mother that just told me that I was capable of anything. Like she just told me that. I don't know. Like it was just something she said to me all the time. Like you can do it. I believe in you. So I want to be honest. I never think of failure, no matter what I'm doing. I just don't. I just do not envision failure in my head ever. Not to say that I haven't failed, but I just don't think of it that way. The power of that is just, it's amazing. So if you're not used to that, and if you didn't have a parent or however you grew up, it may be different. You could change it today. You could make the decision that you're going to tell yourself every day, you're going to look in the mirror every day, you're going to tell your children that you're capable, that you can do it, that you're going to succeed. I'm telling you, I mean, I roll out of the bed in the morning and sometimes I do not feel like getting up, but I'm like, it's going to be a great day. I tell myself that, honestly. So that would be my advice.
Thank you. Dr. Gallagher?
So I was very, very fortunate when I was young. I had just a lot of confidence in myself. Growing up in a big family, it's hard to get individual attention yourself. So the attention that I got that helped me to feel really positive about myself actually didn't come from within my family. And it's not that my parents weren't trying to do everything. They were great parents, but it was hard. But my parents, I was really comfortable going with other people because I'm a middle child. And so my parents' friends who didn't have children would take me for the weekend. Well, heck, for me, that was like, woohoo, I'm going to go out to dinner. We never went out to a restaurant. Who wants to take 12 kids out to a restaurant, right? And so I was able to, from very, very young, feel that I could do anything. And I don't know where that comes from, but I do believe, as Naomi was just saying, I was thinking, and this is what I tell my nieces is, because this is especially important for women. She said, wake up every day and look in the mirror and look at yourself and how much you can contribute to the world. Every single day you get to wake up. And if you struggle sometimes with that, write things down on a piece of paper. Write the 3 amazing things about you that you know are yours and nobody else owns it but you. And when you start to reinforce that in yourself and realize, and don't let negativity take up space in your head. Man, I have days where stuff happens. I'm sure Naomi has days when stuff happens. Everybody you heard from has days that things happen that weren't anything like they wanted it to be. But you don't let that stop you. And if you need to have those 3 amazing things at your ready, you do that. You have that little piece of paper in your pocket every day, because don't forget that every single one of you has something special to offer. We all get from each other. And so my piece of advice is, if you're not telling yourself every day how amazing you are, you need to start telling yourself every day how amazing you are, because you are. You have something that I can benefit from. And I've been on this earth for over 6 decades. I got a PhD and I've been working for a long time, but I can benefit from you. We all can benefit from each other. This is a wonderful world filled of wonderful people that we can get energy off of each other. And I have to apologize. I have to go because I have about 200 seniors in high school who are starting here in the fall, who I have to go and say hello to, because I'm going to get some of that great energy right now. But it has been such a gift for me. I want to thank you for inviting me here. To meet these wonderful women on this panel is just invigorating. Thank you so much. Take care,
Thank
everyone.
you,
Have a
President
wonderful rest of
Gallagher.
your day.
Thank you, Dr. Gallagher.
Thank you. Okay, Melissa, would you like to take the question?
Yeah, that's great. What a way to follow up. I want to say that I think that having a group of support women at your workplace, at your school, in your neighborhood, we need to lift each other up. We need to help support each other. I have bad days. I have a group chat and those people help me out. They help me figure out where I need to go, what I need to do, how I need to move forward or past that problem. So something that I truly believe in is I feel like all boats rise when we help support each other. So women help support each other. I'm getting emotional.
Oh, yes, it's so true. That's why it's so important to have a network and have your network and keep them so they can uplift you. They can remind you how amazing you are. They can give you advice. And that makes you a stronger woman, a stronger mother, and a stronger in your career. Desiree, would you like to take that question?
Yes, yes, I understand, and I go through it myself that, days can be very challenging. Again, reach out to your support system, be a support system for others as well, help elevate and empower others. That will help elevate and empower you. I think a really great thing to do as well is make little goals for yourself. Find small things, even if it's just to get out of bed in the morning, accomplish that, know that's an accomplishment, and then move to the next goal. I think being able to do that and seeing your progress, even within 5 minutes, can help you elevate yourself and overcome challenges that are even larger. But again, it's always the support system. Whenever I have a bad day, I call my mom, I call my boyfriend, I call friends, and I would invite them to do the same with me as well.
Great, thank you. Yvette, how do you develop in believing in yourself?
Yeah, I don't know if I ever kind of looked at it that way as far as like a belief in me, but I guess what's helped me is that I realize that there's a lot of things that are out of my control. And so I focus on what I can. And the way that I see it is I have 100% control of the effort that I provide, that the effort I exert on something, and my perspective about the situation. And so I always look at it as, even if situations arise where the options are not what I wanted, I take the perspective of, at least I have options, and which one do I want to choose? And there's power in choice. And so I try to look at it that, like, what can I control? And I can always control my effort. And I try to, I guess I believe in my work ethic. I know that I'm a hard worker and I will do whatever it takes. And if, whatever my plan is doesn't work out, then I'll look to see what did I learn and then move on to the next thing.
Thank you. And finally, Marjorie.
Yes. First of all, students, if you can just do first and foremost your part in preparing yourself for what you are thinking at that time that you want, do what you can do, and then look for opportunities. Just as I said before, even some areas that might be unfamiliar to you, just go ahead and step out there. Sometimes we have to do things and do it afraid. Even though you're afraid, do it. And once you get there, in so many cases, you'll realize, wow, I do know how to do this. Or wow, this isn't as hard, or I'm smarter than the other people that are in this room. We've all felt that way, a little apprehensive at first. And once you get there, you've got at least as much knowledge and experience and personality as the other people that you might be competing with or working with. And so impress yourself. Give yourself a chance to prove yourself, not only to yourself, but to others. And that will give you the feedback that you need to know, hey, I've got this, I'm doing this. I am in an industry now, all of my family and friends are so surprised that I am working in a sports and entertainment field. I hardly knew anything about football, anything about sports at all. And I am one of the craziest Rams fans now that nobody can believe it, that I'm at the Super Bowl, like screaming, getting mad about calls and play. I learned all of this in 3 years. I learned all of this in 3 years. I felt so, insecure at first about just understanding the industry. I knew I had the skill set for the department that I worked in, but this is a whole family, a whole organization. So I just got into the spirit of it. And I felt like, well, heck, I can learn this. And so I'm keeping scores and stats and everything now. So you can do it.
Great. Thank you all so much. Carolyn? You're on mute.
Yes, I am. Sorry about that. So we're at the part of the presentation where we had saved a little bit of time for anyone who has any questions for our panelists. If anyone does want to ask our panelists a question, you can unmute and go ahead and ask, or if you want to put it in the chat, you can do that too. So I'm going to pause just for a moment to let people do that if they want to.
Carolyn, if it's okay, I have a quick question for
Please, David. Yeah, go ahead.
that might be relevant. How important in terms of women empowerment and just upward mobility is financial literacy, especially for our first generation and Black and Brown students, in your opinion?
Anyone could just jump in, our panelists.
Wow. I think my mic is still on. If I could have received the financial literacy, I'll say at least the high school level, just an understanding, that would have put me miles ahead of some of the financial problems I ran into, not only with student loans, but with just managing my affairs financially, major life experiences that you go through that affect your finances and the time it takes to rebound because you didn't prepare for those things. I really feel like that should be a requirement, not only in high school, but as a part of, I guess, college, maybe the freshman requirements really early on, because that's the first time a lot of people have left home or had to fend or provide for themselves. And really some instruction and support is really needed before you make an 18, 19-year-old student responsible for thousands of dollars of debt. And even the management of, work study funds or refunds and that sort of thing, just helping people to manage that, because we all run out of money before the end of the month. That was just the story all through college. Before the end of the month came, it was over. And that does carry over into people's professional lives and adult lives as well, if they don't really have a clear understanding early on. So yes, I agree with whoever feels like that is a major need.
Okay, does anyone else have anything to add about the importance of financial literacy in your field? Okay, so I think then if we don't have any additional questions, before I kind of thank our panelists for generously sharing their time with us, I just want to draw your attention to the chat. We would greatly appreciate your feedback on the session. We did just put a link to a very short 2-question survey, if you wouldn't mind sharing your feedback with us. But also, I just want to truly and sincerely thank our panelists for taking time out of their busy schedules to share their insights and career journeys with all of us. I know I learned a lot. I was touched personally by so many of your stories, and I am definitely kind of got my inspirational tanks filled up, so to speak, from listening to you all. So I really appreciate your generous sharing of your stories. I wish everybody a wonderful remainder of Women's History Month. I'm going to wrap up the session with a statement from Rihanna that we hope inspires you. There's something special about a woman who dominates in a man's world. It takes a certain grace, strength, intelligence, fearlessness, and the ability to never take no for an answer. So again, I'll leave you with that. Thank you so much to our panelists for inspiring us and taking time out of their busy schedules. Thank you all so much.
Carolyn, can I just say one thing before we go? I just wanted to just
Yes.
thank Julie. And I didn't say that at the beginning. So thank you so much for inviting me to be on the panel.
Of course.
I really appreciate, she's her own, I don't know if you all know, her own social media celebrity herself. And so I love watching her videos talking about a woman that's confident. That is Julie. So thank you so much for inviting me. And I just, whoever, if I could be a help to anyone or need anything from the Dodgers, please, find me on Instagram. I check my messages often. So we do have community programs and ways to bring in underserved community to the stadium to watch a game. So I'd love to connect with all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Naomi. Oh, you told my secret.
Right.
No, yeah. So really thank you all. And when we put this panel together, it's a large panel, but we just admire you all women and your work that you do for the community and the work that you do and always wanting to come out and speak to our students. So thank you guys so much. Thank you, Naomi. Thank you, Desiree. Thank you, Marjorie. Thank you, Yvette. Thank you, Melissa and Dr. Gallagher. Have a wonderful remaining Women's History Month and have a good day, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, Yvette.